harassment is something that happens to women every day. Like, I've faced it, my friends have faced it. How do I use these personal experiences and build something that is able to combat these things?
I've seen so many startups grow like overnight because they just found the right thing that they needed to work on. I think that's going to be, at least for our generation, figuring out where to spend your time, where to spend your energy.
Right.
Because I think still the human energy and human agency is unmatched. AI is never going to get there. Like, end of the day, we
100%.
want to make things happen and we do it.
Exactly, yeah.
And we just have to utilize that more now, right?
Yeah.
Put more energy into things you care about and
Right.
get things done faster.
I've been working with communities where there is a socio-economic differences, there is a class and caste difference, and that adds layers to the whole women. So there's an intersectionality aspect to it, and definitely the first step is to have these conversations amongst each other.
But harassment isn't a woman's issue, it is absolutely an everybody issue.
I still feel if you have a laptop and a stable internet connection, like, you can do anything. And I think that's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Hello guys, how are you?
We're good.
Yeah, good.
Happy to be here. Excited.
Great, thank you. I think I'm so excited because this is my first episode with Gen Zs. I think it's safe to say that you're all Gen Zs, right?
Yeah.
Great. So I think I would love to know a little more about your backgrounds, and if you can do quick intros, it'll be great.
So I'm Anuhya. I'm a final year student at Srishti School of Art, Design and Technology, and I'm majoring in creative education along with Aditya. So our work is mainly concerned with how do we make learning easier and much more fun, basically. And recently I worked at Science Gallery, Bangalore, where you can see some of my work.
Hi, I'm Aditya. I'm studying with Anuhya at Srishti. I've been working with communities across Indian context, and I'm very much interested in making design more accessible and more inclusive. And I think that's where my practice is also heading towards.
I'm Pranav. I'm a fourth year student at IIT Madras. My interests mainly lie in AI currently. I am passionate about building AI systems that scale, and mainly AI's application in India and how we can take AI to like 1 billion people. And
Right.
how can we responsibly do that.
Great. So I think Pranav, I'll start with you that the hackathon win is quite impressive. So congrats. Can you tell us what is your project and how does it work in simple terms?
Right. So for context, the three of us teamed up for a hackathon at Amrita University, and the problem statement was broad, and it just had to be in gender, and you had to use some AI solution to help.
Right.
So I think we weren't really sure which exact problem statement to solve. So we partnered up, we asked for help. We reached out to a bunch of NGOs,
Right.
and an NGO called Durga reached out back to us, and they gave us a bunch of interesting problems to solve. And you can actually kind of explain that conversation we had with them, and then we can talk about our solution.
So when we were talking to these NGOs, we were very confused initially doing research because there's so many issues. How do you pick one, and how do you know whether AI is going to be the right solution to introduce for these different problems? So we thought, why not reach out to experts who actually work in the field? And Durga was kind enough to get back to us about it. And they mainly work in the field of bystander action, and they have an 8-week-long program that they use to train shopkeepers, auto drivers, people in public spaces to prevent harassment. And we were very curious about that program that they're doing, and we were interested in how we could convert that into a very short phone call for an emergency situation. That was basically what we were targeting with this project.
Yeah. And the solution, if I had to quickly summarize, we wanted to create some kind of a caller system where, okay, someone is witnessing something that they want to report. How do you create a frictionless experience where immediately they're able to get talking to someone who can actually help them? And a phone call seemed like the best way to do this. So how the system works is you pick up your phone, you call a number, and then there's this AI agent that talks to you, and you're able to describe the situation to it,
Right.
and it'll give you a clear set of actions.
Right.
And it'll tell you, okay, this is probably what you should be doing right now. And it'll also give you the numbers of responsible authorities, and it'll connect with you on WhatsApp, so you can quickly move things forward. And this is what we wanted to build, and we wanted to make sure that it works.
Right.
And yeah, that was our thought process behind it.
No, that's really impressive. Great work. Why did you focus on harassment and bystander behavior?
Since we started this project, we wanted to do something which is really accessible and something which a lot of people in our generation experiences on day-to-day basis. And that's something like harassment is something which a lot of people have faced in multiple different forms, and that's something we felt like, okay, if we can't solve it, but we can try to resolve this in some forms. That's how we
But
start.
why would you say that a lot of people face in day-to-day basis? On what, in which context?
From the circles we come in, there are a lot of different kinds of conversations, and the harassment which happens, it's very, I don't know how to explain.
I think it also comes with various degrees, right? Like there's violent behavior and there's also like minor transgressions that happen within social circles, in safe spaces. So how do you create something that's sensitive to these different forms of harassment and able to help you navigate these situations? Because it's really hard to take a step, especially not even as a victim, as someone watching this unfold that's uncomfortable. It feels like it's not your place to intervene as well, right? But a lot of bystander action could help reduce these instances because we don't feel like people are stepping up in public places, that we feel safe enough to harass people. So how do we create an unsafe environment for harassers, basically, was what we were curious about.
It would be very bold for us to say, okay, we're going to solve harassment and all. So
Yeah.
we'd rather just fix the part of the situation where, okay, I'm seeing it, what can I better do to help that person?
Right.
So we're targeting that bystander part of the problem.
There is a lot of sensitization and vocalization about these issues, especially in our circles, whenever such incidences happen. So we share with each other. So there is a lot of dialogue and conversations around it there are a lot of frustrations about systems, what the system is reinforcing within it, and what can we really do about it.
Right.
But with this project, there was a step of, oh, we know what this scenario is, what can we really do about it?
Right.
So it was just pushing us also in that one step ahead about, oh, we have to think about it in a problem solving method now and address it in a very systemic way, but also in a very human and a very personalized approach also.
Right. And when you say that you actually discuss together, so does that also include men and women, like both the genders together? Okay, great.
But I also think that might come from the type of space we're in. I'd say Srishti is a relatively progressive space, and the ratio is also the opposite. We have way more female students than we have male students. So I think the male students are sort of forced to incorporate themselves into these conversations, right? That may not be the case in a lot of other colleges. And the other thing with bystander action is that it's a lot easier to step in for people you know. Like it's okay to feel productive about your friends, but how do you create a sense of collective responsibility for strangers you don't know, right? Stepping up within a college is one thing, stepping up on the road is a different thing. So how do you create that sort of sense of responsibility outside a safe space as well?
Right. And Pranav, do you also see the same that, I mean, I know there are many girls who don't take up tech, and there's a huge gender gap in these areas, and how do you see that in your generation? Like what's the percentage of girls and boys in your
So in my college, it is male dominated,
Right.
at least in the engineering branch. There are, I think, 60% males and 40% females.
Right.
But I think within the institute, so we have a humanities department that generally brings up these conversations of like gender and in general equality and how you should just be more human.
Right.
And more of today's problems are definitely discussed in the college. Like I've had a lot of these discussions, I've attended talks. So
Right.
people are talking about it. But
Right.
in terms of whether more women are going to come to tech, I hope so. I think like the exams are fair and more people are getting interested now.
Right.
And I think the learning barrier is slowly reducing.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. But yeah, even in the engineering institute, the conversations are still there. And I think
Yeah.
which that's probably the best thing.
Yeah, and many girls also have a fear of thinking, oh, there are majority of boys in the class and they drop off and they don't continue, right? Probably they just don't feel that they belong in the spaces. Even in terms of technologies and designs, what we're building, I'm going to come back to you now, Aditya, that you spoke about inclusive designs, right? Most of the products when you're building these tech products are designed by, of course, men. Because we don't have many women in this space, so if women are not part of the conversations, then how do they bring different element or different perspective? And how do you envision to see that changing and evolving with your work? And what are the gaps you're currently seeing? And do you think, have you seen any changes if we compare to before and now?
So there's very little understanding of women in the spaces of in this conversation. The kind of work which I've been doing and the kind of work we study at Srishti also, I've been working with communities where there is a socio-economic differences, there is a class and caste difference, and that adds layers to the whole women. So there's an intersectionality aspect to it. And definitely the first step is to have these conversations amongst each others, and to really see that what is this tool really catering forward, like who is this speaking to and who has really made it with what intent. If we really address these two questions in the first place, I think we have a better way to approach it, to see like to how to really make it more inclusive.
Right. So Anuhya, I want to ask you, since this is such a human sensitive topic, and how did being a woman impact your perspective on this? And did it feel personal at your point?
I mean, I think it was personal from the start. Like, harassment is something that happens to women every day. Like, I've faced it, my friends have faced it. How do I use these personal experiences and build something that is able to combat these, right? So maybe in that sense, I might have had a slightly more personal connection, maybe also like a higher standard to which I'm evaluating this tool that we're building. Because I'm constantly thinking back to these things that have happened to me, and I'm wondering whether this would actually be able to solve that issue at that point. But at the same time, I also think that isn't something I alone should be thinking about. I think everybody should be thinking about it. Harassment isn't a woman's issue. It is absolutely an everybody issue. So how do we make that conversation happen for everybody, and how do we make everybody as sensitive to it? And it's not like harassment happens only to women. Harassment happens to other people as well. So how do we make people realize that harassment can happen to everybody, and everybody is just as much of a victim, and everybody can be just as much of a perpetrator?
So I have a next question for Aditya and Pranav. What it was like working on building a technology tool to help prevent and address harassment for women, something we also refer to anti-harassment tech. Did you see your own perspectives being reflected in the product, or was it other way around?
So when we kind of got access to the problem statement, we understood what we're going to build. Obviously, I had my own stances and opinions of, okay, who is going to use the product and how is it going to help. So from an engineering perspective, I just knew that we just had to make this work as effectively as possible, where there is no obvious clear barrier to entry for usage for anybody, whether they're male, female, whatever it may be. And I think throughout building the project and seeing like interesting use cases pop up, my perspective definitely changed. I think broadly understanding harassment as an issue and understanding, to be fair, I was not really aware that bystanders could make such an impact, and that was a big learning through this. And in generally, I also just take up more responsibility now, because I'm more educated in this space, and I feel like I am empowered to do something more in the future as well.
Yeah.
So in that sense, for sure, I think you can.
There was a lot of empathy towards just listening to what harassment issues are there amongst our friend circles, what people are trying to say. So it was a lot of learning about, oh, this is what really it feels like, this is what it means. And throughout building this tool, Anuhya was a big factor. Like, we could always come back to Anuhya and be like, oh, is this something which, is this making sense? So our perspectives really, like, it has grown a lot. There's a lot more learning to it, but I feel like there's a lot more to do. Like, this is just the first step, this project with what we have done. And there's a lot more accountability and responsibilities on ourselves right now.
Yeah, and I think that's where diverse teams are super important, right? Building products and technologies, having perspective from both men and women. And if you can have both perspective, you can really transform industries, educations, and people. Like, honestly, there's so much can be done. So I think I'm gonna little zoom out from the conversation and come back to bit of for Gen Zs and AI. I think AI is everywhere, from editing photos to job research. We are living, breathing, literally, right? All of us. Does an AI powered world excites you? Anuhya, you can tell me.
I mean, honestly, I'm terrified. Like, how do I put it? AI could be coming for my job, it could be coming for anybody's job. So like the job market part of it definitely terrifies me. I'm also scared about when we are using AI on the job, what is it misinforming us about the way we're doing our work? Is it going to sort of hamper the way we look at these situations, right? I think something really important to look at is the idea of context. And when you're sort of getting this AI summary of so many things to look at, you're removing all of that information from the context of the original body of work it was in. And I think that original body does give you a lot of context on how to interpret that information. And I think you really lose that when you're looking at something so condensed and something that has been sort of reframed in different words, you're losing the original intent of the author. And I think that terrifies me, because what if I say something and I'm very, very set on what I want that thing to say,
Right.
and if somebody AI generates a summary of what I just said
Right.
and it's completely different, I'm terrified of that future. Yeah.
For me, I think it's thrilling, but it's also very terrifying because the scale at which we are interacting with AI, it's exponentially growing, and I don't think we are prepared for the scale at which it's growing for.
Right.
So I don't think the consequences of it can be really drastic, and it can affect multiple stakeholders at multiple levels.
Right.
So I think it's scary, but I do see some hope and future, like a hope.
Is there anything excites you about AI? Like, I know there's a scary part as well, but there's also exciting factor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for me, from like just a science fiction perspective, like as
Right.
an excited kid, we went from like sand to these machines that can talk to me. Like to me, it feels like wizardry every day.
Right.
And I've been in the airspace for like 2 years now. I've been following most developments.
Right.
And it is crazy that how smart these models have gotten,
Right.
and how much of my daily work I outsource to these models.
Yeah.
And even like my grandparents are using it now, and they're finding value in it.
Yeah.
Right, and it's able to understand their languages, and
Yeah.
it has definitely brought knowledge to our fingertips more. So that's very exciting.
Of course. Anuhya, you were talking about the jobs, right? And my next question is for you: that how do you perceive the impact of AI on jobs, and do you really worried about losing a job as a woman? Because women are higher at risk.
Yeah, true. Women are higher at risk. And I do think AI is coming for everybody's jobs, not just my job. I think AI is putting a lot of people out of jobs. But at the same time, it saddens me that it's coming for jobs that people want to do. When there's so many jobs out there that we could be automating. Manual scavenging still happens in India.
Right.
Why aren't we trying harder to make that an automated job? Why are we trying so hard to make design or engineering an automated job instead? People want to do design and engineering. People don't want to do manual scavenging. Why
Right.
can't we work towards making those jobs easier instead of taking away the things that we actually want to do? I think that's something I think about a lot when it comes to jobs in AI.
Aditya, how do you think about when it comes to trusting AI? Do you think people trust it too much or maybe not enough?
Oh, I think people definitely trust it way too
Too much, right?
Like,
Yeah.
it can be a therapist, it can be a friend, it can be an email writer, it can be anything and everything.
Right.
So the amount of information we feed into AI, and that's a bit scary, that it knows so much about us, and that information is going to get processed by these larger corporations to sell us more things. And that's the scary part of it. But I think this consciousness of conversation which we have with AI, I think that's like I think we trust it way too much.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
if anyone's using the model, and if any listener is watching that, even as these models get smarter, you should always have to double check what it's saying, right? Always put your opinions first.
Yeah.
And use it as like an assistant that's just helping you.
Yeah,
with-
I literally use it as my assistant. I don't but it actually really helps you as well for so many things. I use it as a productive tool for my productivity, managing multiple things. I'm not a designer, but I can make presentation on AI. Like, I get the designs and everything. So it gives you basics of to start something. And that really excites me of creating more opportunities for young people. Either could be job opportunities, creating your resumes or presentations, or creating pitch decks for your business models and building some, what you're passionate about, right? Yeah.
And on the job thing, I wanted to add in, like, sure, there are terrifying sides, but
Right.
now also I feel as a generation that has access to technology from a young age,
Right.
we are very empowered to kind of follow our dreams. Like,
Yeah.
there is no more barrier to entry to any industry
Exactly,
anymore. Startups
yeah.
are born like this,
Yes.
and people are moving very fast.
Yeah.
And I think whatever job fear is there, we have the option to always adapt, right?
Right.
To always maybe change the way you learn, may change the way you work, focus on
Right.
problems that actually matter.
Yeah.
And I think that hope is always there, and I think our generation in general always preaches that, where you
Right.
let's not waste time solving unnecessary problems. Let's solve the problems that matter.
Yeah.
Right. Have the conversations that matter.
Exactly. And if you look at in US and Silicon Valley, like honestly, nobody cares about your degrees anymore. It's about your life skills and experiences and how fast are you able to solve those problems.
Correct.
And those are skilled. So more than degrees now, it's a matter of skill that as a person, as a human, how many things I can solve. And that skill set could be also be built with AI tools. As I said, I'm not a designer, but I can create really good PPT presentation, right? Because it's just like my extra skill I've learned with that. So like that, there are so many ways for sure.
100%.
But I also feel like there is a certain privilege angle to this. Like we are privileged enough that AI won't come take our jobs.
Right.
It's going to take jobs from a different social class.
Right.
So we are automating calls, but that's replacing call centers. That's replacing a lot of jobs for other people. So, and I don't feel like AI, we talk about AI as an accessible tool, but to build an AI model which is truly accessible to these different communities, it has to be rooted from the place. And there has to be more AI fluency workshops, skill building things for them, especially for them to have to compete with people from the cities. And yeah, so I feel like there's a long way ahead to also go.
Yeah, I mean the education gap, right? Yeah. So Pranav, you are AI engineer and it runs on electricity, big servers, data, and training AI system cost as much as energy as empowering whole cities. And have you ever thought about it with creating something cool but also worrying about its environmental impact? Because I'm not sure if many people are aware of that.
Correct, 100%. I think especially these big like OpenAI and Google, when they train these large models, a lot of energy, water, and resources are used. Like even building these data centers.
Right.
But I think, and that is a big cause for concern.
Yeah.
And as these technologies are brand new, like right now they're focused on just, okay, how can we get these models as smart as possible, as fast as possible? You don't really spend time worrying about the effects it has on the earth. But I do want to note that there are very prominent researchers in the field right now who also think about this.
Right.
How can I get these models to run more efficient where I'm using less energy, I'm creating less heat, I need less water, right? I think instead of maybe pointing out generally that, oh, this costs this much water, maybe we shouldn't use it. We should spend more time on, okay, how can we make this more efficient?
Right.
Because end of the day, all of us are consumers and we like when AI helps us, we like Googling things.
Of course.
Right, so as an engineer, I feel like it's my responsibility as well to constantly think about this.
Right.
And anything I put out should be as efficient to the earth as possible.
Right.
And I hope that the big corps will do this. And yeah, and I think we should all definitely be aware of like every time you make a ChatGPT query, how much energy are you consuming?
I don't think so. We even think about that, right? I'm always really excited to visit data centers.
Yeah.
And in fact, I met one AI company and I've told that lady and she said they have centers in Mumbai as well. So just to understand what happens behind the scenes, right? And what is the overall impact on environment and on our lives overall. I mean, I think that's also education factor, right? So my next question for is Anuhya and Aditya. Do you look at the process of designing and developing an AI tool purely for technical problem solving perspective or something that includes ethical trades-off? Meaning, is it just a tool or do you feel it ask more moral questions that you as a designer cannot ignore?
Especially in the scape of design, we have been taught with a lot of empathy, like to really look and understand what the user is trying to do and understand the behavior patterns and to resolve that with certain tools. But what happens usually is that there's this gap of needs and wants, and a lot of wants are derived from a lot of economic benefits, and that's why a lot of design tools are catered towards that. And I think that's where the critical ability of an AI lacks, wherein it lacks to understand, is this tool really needed, or is it just going to create more benefit and profit for larger corporations, or is it really going to solve the problem for the users? So it can definitely be a part of the process in the whole design thinking part, but it can't solely generate ideas. It can validate, it can test out, it can reiterate, but I don't feel like it can be the. What do you think?
I also think where I see AI being used a lot right now in design is like in the research phase of it. So the whole thing, I mean, where I see AI coming in is to sort of substantiate your secondary research. AI should be something that you use to get closer to your primary research and to get closer to your user. But if AI is distancing you from it, if it's sort of like keeping you further away from what is happening around you, I think that's when it's the problem, right? The whole idea is to sort of immerse yourself in whatever you're creating. And if AI makes that immersion easier, I think it's doing a great job. But if AI is making sort of getting through the research phase easier, then I don't think it's particularly aiding the process. I think it's making worse designs more accessible.
Right. So, Anuhya, what is your take on that? Could AI make us a bit lazy in how we show empathy? Like we are outsourcing kindness to chatbots instead of learning to step up for each other?
I think we're sort of moving to a very fast-paced, efficient world where we want 10-minute deliveries, we want instant replies, and AI is going to give us that, right? Like you type in a question, it's going to answer instantly. And I think we're going to lose that patience that we have when we talk to other people. We're going to lose that sensitivity we have to the fact that people take time to process, people take time to respond. I think that's one thing that we're going to start losing very fast. And another thing I saw recently was something about how most AI voice agents, they have female voices, right? When you look at Cortana and Alexa, all of them are female voices. And what does it sort of do to your mind when there's a subservient female in your house at all times? How does it make you feel towards the other women in your lives? Should they also constantly listen to you, treat them with disrespect, treat them with no kindness and courtesy? Should the women around you also respond with, oh yes, I understand you feel frustrated right now, how may I help you, right? And so I do think AI is going to mess with our empathy a little bit, for sure.
I also feel like there is a lot of empathy in our generation, especially because there's a lot more vocalization and a lot more individual ideas. AI can become a catalyst at certain point because we really don't know how to respond to a lot of situations. So it can help you navigate those tough situations. But there's a risk of over dependency, like Anuhya said, and losing that authentic self in this process. But I definitely see it as a catalyst in certain situations.
So, Pranav, I would love to understand your view on how do you think AI can truly understand human emotions well enough to step in something the most sensitive spaces like situations around sexual harassment?
So I think it's important to understand exactly. So when you go on ChatGPT today and you say, hey, I'm sad, it will give you some positive reinforcement. It'll say, hey, that's really bad, let me help you out.
Right.
These are things you can do. But it's also important to understand what exactly what kind of behavior is this model showing. So when these models are trained, it's trained on a huge set of human data. Right. So it has just found patterns in this human data. So it's just learned from humans being empathetic. These models on their own have no agency. They don't really understand human emotions. They're just emulating how a very intelligent, empathetic human would behave. Right. So the overdependence thing, I think it's very terrifying that people are really counting on these models as their only source of someone to talk to, and that's really bad. So I think it's going to take a very long time before, because there are a few tests in computer science, a few metrics where we say, oh, this entity is actually showing human characteristics.
Right.
I think with LLMs and the ones that run ChatGPT, we're not there yet. It's clear that they're very smart, they're very good, but truly understanding human emotion is a very nuanced topic because you need to have agency as a being, right? You need to, which these models just don't have. They're just kind of mimicking what they've learned from.
Yeah, what they trained off, right?
Yeah, and that's important to understand, right? And they'll obviously be able to help, but I think everyone should be educated on the fact that, hey, do not share your personal information, do not share very deep, dark secrets with these models. They're probably not going to be able to help you, right? So that's important to understand. And and I think especially sensitive topics, maybe sexual harassment, these models are, so there's this very broad research field in these big labs, right? Alignment. How do you get your models to like how do you remove bias in particularly the training data?
Right.
Because early on when the models were dropping, they weren't like centered at all. Like they had clear, obvious biases that were there in the data. Maybe where it felt that okay, maybe if you asked it, oh, what is an ideal job for a woman?
Right.
It noticed that it said kitchen and like household activities a lot, which is very bad, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of work has been put into making these models a little more fair, a bit more centered, a bit more non-biased, right? It gives you all kind of perspectives, and you get to take that answer and make an opinion of your own.
Right.
But with these topics, I think it's people who make these models, their responsibility to really clean out the data such that you're not putting obviously wrong, terrible, hurtful information inside that like these models spew out to the younger generations.
Right.
And I hope that that's done. And I think we as users also, maybe if we feel these models are not good enough to be in these sensitive topics, we should not be directly integrating them yet. Or set neat safeguard, rail guards where if in case something goes wrong, we're able to make sure no one gets hurt.
Yeah, but also I think the sensitive issues people don't really feel comfortable talking to humans, and they usually think, oh, it's a bot, so I can get some quick response, right?
Yeah, but I think the important distinction there is if, let's say, you're a young female and you want to just have access to some information about something you're anxious about, then going to these models makes sense. It will tell you that, hey, it's not the end of the world for you. You have all these things that you can do. But getting that crutch on it, where you're like, anytime something goes wrong, I have to go to ChatGPT and it'll make me feel better. That
bad.
I don't think is.
Yes.
Right.
So of course, the human element we can't remove,
Correct.
honestly, and that's super important as well.
And I also feel like these models are based very much on, like, the responses are very much validating what you're trying to say. There is very less counter argument or response about it. So that also reinforces certain things.
Yeah, one of the hardest problems to solve right now is how can they learn to know when they're wrong? Because right now it's impossible for them. They'll just keep like spewing out information.
Right.
And it's very hard to use themselves to figure out are they making a mistake. So I think we need to be a little safe when we talk to these models. In general, use it as an information source. Do not gain an emotional connection with them.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's my 2 cents.
If you could define ethical AI in one line for Gen Z, what it would be? Any of you can answer first. I mean, it is for all of you. I mean, do you believe in ethical AI, or like, do you even think? I mean, I think this is quite interesting for you because you know, like, do you see that these conversations in your college, or do you believe that as a person who's building in technology and you're an AI engineer, does these things come to your mind about what are the ethics?
One line might be difficult, but I think broadly, like 2 big concerns I personally have is one, as these models get very, very smart, like the landscape changes, right? If these models become superhuman smart, where smartest thing on the planet is a model, then I feel like that's non-ethical AI. The moment a model is able to surpass all human knowledge combined beyond the ability where we can control, that's unethical. And a more realistic note is, as AI like permeates through society more, I believe that everyone should have access to compute. Everyone should have access to these models, because only then is it fair. Right? Everyone should have access to intelligence, because end of the day we're building it for humanity.
Exactly.
And that's that's ethical AI in online.
Yeah. What about you?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't think I have a very positive opinion of AI. I try my best to not use it at all. Like, this hackathon was probably the only instance in my life where I've used AI, and I think I have a lot of guilt associated with it. I don't think there is such a thing as ethical AI. I'm constantly thinking about the environmental impact, thinking about the fact that the data is straight on and stolen, the fact that it's probably going to give me biased information. So I don't feel like safe using it. I don't feel like I'm doing a good thing for the world if I use it. But at the same time, I also feel like that's not guilt that I should be having. Like, it's sort of passing blame onto the consumer, right? If I think about the environmental impact of every single thing I search, yes, I do think about it. But should I really be feeling guilty about these 2 or 3 prompts I might use over a month versus a corporation that's automating so much of their work that they have a much bigger environmental impact that they're creating than I possibly could in my lifetime. But why am I the person feeling guilty about it? Like, shouldn't
you shouldn't actually.
So how do we? I think we should really focus on holding these people accountable
Exactly.
for what they're doing, right? Like if I'm accountable for those 3 AI prompts I do in a month, then a larger corporation needs to be accountable for the 3 billion AI prompts they use in a month.
Right.
Yeah, I also.
That's actually very interesting and different point of view.
It's. I really don't know what ethical AI means. There's a lot of guilt, obviously, but also the fact that AI is going to be here. It's going to stay, and we have to find mechanisms and ways to work with it, to coexist with it.
Right.
So that's what I've been thinking about. As how do I really build a relationship with it?
Okay. So I think this is for Pranav. If you could redesign how AI grows or behaves, what's one rule you will set in stone?
Yeah, so again, like I said, when these models are built,
Right.
I still feel like, to me, because over time what's going to happen is a lot of people will start using these models a lot and they start adapting to that way of thinking, that way of living, that way of working, and
Right.
a huge subsection of people won't, right? And then that gap increases because models are keep going to get smarter, they're going to keep getting better.
Right.
So I still feel like maybe in the next 5-10 years we need to set down guardrails, we need to set down regulations of where can these models permeate our lives in.
Right.
And if they are going to permeate a lot, I feel like everyone should have like some universal basic like compute usage, that you get to use AI so much in your life,
Yeah.
right? And that power we need to empower with everybody.
So you mean like some limit?
Limit or a minimum amount, right?
Right.
That
Yeah.
everybody is given and allowed to use.
Right.
And of course, this is aside from what these corporations do with like
Yeah.
whatever products they're putting out. I think it is a responsibility to either allow everybody to have AI or nobody should, right? That's always going to be the problem.
Right. So what's the one thing people often misunderstand about Gen Z and technology?
I think we're the most media literate generation out there. We grew up with this technology, we've been constantly changing with this technology. I think we understand it better than anybody else out there right now. And I think that makes us sort of better torchbearers for this situation, right? So we know just how much it can impact our lives. So we're going to be just as much careful as we keep using it. And I think people don't realize just how much responsibility we shoulder with that. And the fact that we're aware of that responsibility, I think that's what gets glossed over a lot. I think Gen Z thinks about the fact that they have responsibility. Yeah.
Yes, I think we are very much aware about what's happening around us, and we do have a strong opinion also in a lot of ways.
Right.
And also the fact that we are open to learn, and like we're open to getting critique and unlearn and learn again. So that's a positive hope, yeah.
Yeah, I think
New things don't seem to scare us.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
AI came and everybody's quickly, okay, cool, assignments,
Yeah.
homework, everything done.
And we're also more okay with the idea of being wrong. I think
Yeah.
we're really sure that like we're not 100% right about everything. So when we find out that things are going wrong, we're not very quick to dismiss it. We're like, okay, fine, let's reroute, let's rethink what we're doing.
Right. Yeah. Okay, the last question for all of you. What's the most surprising thing you've learned about yourself through working on AI projects?
So I use AI a lot, like every day. Like it's.
Okay, me
I
too,
felt bad when
also.
Anuhya said the.
I know, I'm
big
also feeling
corporation.
bad. I'm feeling so guilty.
This is my own personal crisis, you guys.
Like last night, I've spent 4 hours working on AI. Yeah.
And most of my work, even like for my company, I use AI like all the time.
Right.
So one thing I realized is, for me, like 2-3 years back, whatever learning goals I had, whatever just generally dreams I had, there were limitations that came with it.
Right.
I'm not smart enough, I don't know this, how will I learn
Yeah.
this? And in the last 6 months, I would say all of that has just been like thrown out.
Yeah.
Like I feel limitless with AI now, because now learning is not an issue. I get to
Yes.
ask any question. There's
Yeah.
no more barriers to. The only thing that I need now is agency, right? If I
Yeah.
want to do something, I cannot do it. And I think with our generation, that's powerful, because a lot of us have big dreams and goals.
Yeah.
And I still feel if you have a laptop and a stable internet connection, like you can do anything. And I think that's very
Yeah.
cool.
I feel like with AI, my skill set has increased a lot. Like I can do things very much faster, very much accessible. Like things are very much in my control in a lot of ways. And yeah, so for me, learning has been great with AI. And yeah, I think learning has been great for me.
I think I've been like very pessimistic throughout this whole thing. But at the end of the day, I am very optimistic about the future. I feel like something that I've really noticed is that we care. And that makes me very excited for the future. Like, there's so many problems out there, but we actually care enough to want to try to fix them. And I think I'm happy. I have faith in the future. And I think that has been the biggest takeaway for me, that it's scary, but we're all scared of the same thing and we're all willing to make that scare go a little.
True.
What are the challenges do you face? I want to understand from your generation.
Yeah, I think in like especially software engineering right now, it's very cutthroat. Like
Yeah.
in big companies right now, like 70-80% of the code is written by AI.
Right.
Right. So my perspective is that, like I said, I feel like I just have a very smart coding assistant with me, like an intern I have. And so now my job involves more on thinking, right? I start thinking about what are the harder problems, how can I solve them?
Right.
Well, all these simple little coding tasks, AI can do for me.
Yeah.
And I think in generally to adapt, that's what we need to realize, that, okay, a baseline has been set, models can do so much. You need to step above that, right? Think on a higher level.
Yeah.
And focus on the right problems to solve, which is always, I think, my biggest takeaway from the last year has been that. Like, I've seen so many startups grow like overnight because they just found the right thing that they needed to work on. And I think that's going to be, at least for our generation, figuring out where to spend your time, where to spend your energy.
Right.
Because I think still the human energy and human agency is unmatched. AI is never going to get there. Like, end of the day, we
100%.
want to make things happen and we do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we just have to utilize that more now, right?
Yeah.
Put more energy into things you care about and get things done faster.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. It helps you define your vision in better way.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I think when it comes to design, I feel very similarly about this idea of like identifying the right problem that you want to solve. And I feel like I've always had this very set philosophy when it comes to design. I don't think I'm very good at graphic design, but I think I can think about the content I'm putting out there, and there's someone out there much more skilled than me who can come in and make it look better. And I think AI is slowly taking over that role of the person that can come in and make what I'm saying look better. So I want to spend more and more time on just what am I saying instead of conveying it out there, because somebody else can do a better job of it. AI can do a better job at it, of making it look pretty for the world. So how can I just make sure what I'm saying has meaning to it and has power to it?
I feel like there is a sense of fear of some sort where there is an over dependency over AI. Like the kind of research which we guys have been doing, it's very much influenced by AI, and I feel like that in some ways has been shaping a lot of things, but it has also it has made us more effective and efficient to come up with better ideas, better projects and better timelines. So yeah, I think it's a very balanced, it's a very tough situation in that way.
I think I was very interested in that, is AI becoming more of a crutch than teacher question, because we had a very interesting conversation about the education systems that we have right now and how we need to sort of change our evaluation methods when we're thinking about AI. So we're still living in a world that doesn't account for the fact that AI can do all our assignments, that AI can do the job of rote learning. Our education systems are still built on this idea of rote learning and memorization, when that just isn't the way of the world anymore. So the problem with education systems and AI shouldn't be, oh, we need to stop kids from using AI. Kids are going to keep using AI. Everybody's going to keep using AI. How can we? They should. And they should. So how do we reevaluate our education systems how do we reframe these assignments to incorporate AI and test our understanding more than our memorization, right? And I think that's where like the future of education lies, and that's the part I'm the most excited about when it comes to AI. Like I saw this thing about this history teacher who was getting a lot of essays turned in that were all AI generated, and so what they thought would be a good solution was to make the assignment to AI generated essay, but they would be graded on how many inaccuracies they could find in the AI generated essay, right? So it takes a lot of thought and care to reframe these assignments, but the learning you're getting out of it is so much more. Not only are you learning that information, also learning how to fact check, you're learning how to be more critical of the media you're consuming. AI can really teach us how to be better if we use it the right way.
Yeah. No, I also really feel excited about education and health. I think if we can give access, and I think these the two things, regardless of gender or background or communities, everyone should have access. And I think with AI, we can really do that.
Yeah.
Like into different language models or reaching out to communities who are underrepresented. They don't have access. They don't even have awareness. Forget about the access, right? Because they don't even know what are the problems exist. So if we can empower these people to learn about the problems and they can find better solutions, I think it could be huge impact on overall, overall in the world and societies and how we actually look at things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. So thank you so much for joining me. It was so great having you guys on the show, and I'm so excited about the future as well, because when we have people like you building it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you
us.
for having us. This is
Yeah.
great.
Thank you.